Hey everyone, welcome to Otaku Talk. It's me, your boy, your host, OD, and today we'll be reviewing and analyzing chapter 1083 of One Piece. For those of you new to my channel, would greatly appreciate it if you could like, share, and subscribe. And if you've been here before, you can still do it. Wouldn't hurt a little bit. Anyway, I'm really excited to talk about this chapter. Also, I'm doing something new today. I'm trying out my lights without like my overhead lights, and I just kind of wanted to see what it would look like. So if this video comes out super nice, awesome. If it comes out a little bit wonky, whoops, won't do that again. Anyway, without much further ado, let us get into this review. All right, everyone, chapter 1083 of One Piece. What actually happened on that day. This was honestly a very, very interesting chapter. When I first read it, I was like, meh. But then the more I reread it, I was like, okay, there's definitely a lot here that we can delve into. So Sabo is back and he's basically filling in the Revolutionary Army on like what he saw, what took place, and we don't quite get to see him meet Emu, if that is what happened. So maybe we're gonna get one more chapter of that, which is really interesting because we've got a lot of chapters without, referring to Egghead or like talk or like, seeing what Luffy and them are up to. So that's really interesting. But at the same time, I haven't really missed it that much. Like, yes, I do miss it. Yes, I would like to go back to it. But what we've been getting instead is so like important and cool that like, it's like, I'm not too upset, right? And so basically, the chapter starts with a cover art. You know me, I don't really like to talk about them. It's Doflamingo, and he's like nursing an injured chicken or bird or whatever. I don't care. It's cool. It's nice. Oh boy. We start off the chapter, and Sabo is talking to Dragon and Ivankov, right? And basically, he's saying we've accomplished our three main goals. We declared war on the world government by destroying their their symbol, by destroying their food reserves, and by freeing the slaves. And I honestly really, really, really love how strategic this is, how strategic the Revolutionary Army is, and how strategic Oda is, right? Because we've heard time and time and again, first and foremost, you cannot attack MARIEJOIS. It is like what, like 3, 4, 5,000 meters above sea level. The red stone, it's completely indestructible. In order to, if you try to scale it, you can be attacked. So it is the ultimate fort, if you will, the ultimate fortification. And so the Revolutionary Army essentially was like, all right, cool. We can't take the fight to you, but what we can do is siege your ass. And so basically what they're doing is Saba got up there, he destroyed their food reserves, destroyed their granaries, their food storage facilities, everything that they use to produce and store their food, right? And on top of that, the world government is making sure that all of these shipments that go to the world government in order to provide them with food are being deterred, or I don't want to say destroyed. I don't want the Revolutionary Army to turn into terrorists, more or less, but let's just say are getting deterred or getting destroyed, are from being able to, I don't know if it's trade, but like being able to provide, the celestial dragons with food and supplies. And this is very, very, very important because this is a multi-pronged attack. So essentially what's happening is they're going to deprive the celestial dragons of food. I don't know if they have any farms up there, but I'm kind of against it. Once again, I would feel like the red line is more or less equivalent to like bedrock, and I don't really think you can grow stuff on bedrock. So there's that right there. Also, I feel like the celestial dragons are too like snooty and snobby to have farms up there. Yeah, there were like, trees and parks and stuff, but I think that was more like superficial. I don't really think that they have, the means to grow stuff. And even if they did, what else did what else did the Revolutionary Army do? They freed all the slaves. So who's going to tend to the crops? Who's going to, provide food? Who's going to cook the food? Who's going to, put out their supplies and stuff Who is going to provide for all these celestial dragons still up there? As we saw, they're not very, self-sufficient. We had one celestial dragon riding another dude's back and then like was like, fine, I'll walk after the dude conked out, right? So like they really, really do not have it in them to look after themselves. And this happened all about a month ago. We haven't been aware of it because of the events of Wano. So they currently are at their weakest state. And on top of this being like a month ago, and them probably having gone through what little food reserves they still do have, on top of that, we have this battle with we're still trying to find all of the Shichibukai, right? We have all the Shichibukai, we have the Yonko going at it, and then now we have this big race to the One Piece. And on top of that, what we found out last chapter is we have these bounties out on the rings. So like the powers that be are in a real power struggle right now because there is just so much going on in the world. It's like, how do we address this issue, that issue, this issue over here? It is just phenomenal writing. It is phenomenal military subterfuge, and I am here for it. This is really, really getting into the nitty gritty of the story, and just more than just like power scaling and stuff. We're starting to involve tactics and logic, and it's so cool. On top of that, something I really do love is the same thing Ivankov was wiling about, and it was that for the first time in their lives, the Celestial Dragons are really about to feel what it's felt like for all the other places to have to starve and suffer. They're going to firsthand experience what they've put countless other kingdoms and islands through, and something about that is just poetic as hell. Dragon lets us know that we were successful in, converting 8 kingdoms away from the world government. But technically, you can say 7 because Lelucia Kingdom was, completely wiped off the face of the map, wiped out from history. So 7, but I'll still take it because I get the point that he's trying to make. That's going to drastically handicap the world government. However, not that big. If I'm correct, there's 50 nations or 50 kingdoms. I don't know exactly how it works. And if we took 8 away, that leaves 42. So we only really crippled about 60% of their power and wealth. However, maybe it's actually more so than I think, because just because it's about 16% of the kingdoms, we don't know about the equity between the kingdoms. Maybe, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the ones that they took were the main earners for the world government. So if that's the case, then it is a much more significant blow to the world government. So we find out about, we don't find out, but we are reintroduced to a force that we only heard about once, and that was by like Black Horse or whatever his name was, and that is the God's Knights. So as we're getting further into the series, we're learning that there are, powerful forces that we had never heard of before, right? So for the longest time, we thought the strongest people in One Piece were what? The admirals, the Yonko, stuff like that. But now we're seeing, okay, maybe Imu is really powerful. Maybe the Gorosei are really powerful. And now we have the God's Knights. A lot of people thought, the God's Knights might be just, a kind of enforcement system to regulate law and order amongst the Celestials themselves. Me personally, I think it's more along the lines of similar to like the Skypiea arc with those knights over there. They are probably going to be one of the utmost protectors of, the Celestials, the last line of defense. You can think about it as, like, in my opinion, sort of like the Gorosei Division 0, which was like the original Gorosei. So, maybe they're the strongest. And as we're looking at their silhouettes, there's a clear silhouette that really draws our attention. And there's a somewhat tall figure in the middle that has the shape proportions of Shanks and a sword similar to Shanks. Honestly, there was a really funny meme picture I saw in the comments where it was the bandit from chapter 1, and it kind of fit really well. I thought that was funny because he's one of the few people we've seen with that type of sword besides Shanks. But obviously, I don't really think it's him. But a lot of people are like, is that Shanks? Is it the red-haired pirates? I'm just going to go ahead and put my money down now and say, no, it's not them. I think that would be stupid. I think it'd be nonsensical. I don't think it would make sense. It just does not. Just does not fit for me. Do I think there is some relation to Shanks? Absolutely. Could this be Shanks's brother? Could this be Shanks's father? Could Shanks be a clone of this person? The possibilities are endless. But one thing I am definitively assurant of is that whoever is in the middle is probably a descendant of the Fingerland family. We find out about the Fingerland family from film Red, or was it volume 4 billion or whatever, but that is my belief right now, that some way, shape, or form that middle person is related to Shanks and probably has power comparable to Shanks. Now, are these God Knight celestial dragons themselves? Who the hell knows? Are they elite slaves that were trained up? Possibly. Are they celestial dragons that were trained? Possibly. A lot of people think the Gorosei themselves were celestials that were maybe, pulled aside because of their, maybe vast intellect, or maybe there's some kind of selection process, or maybe they're disgraced celestials and the only way to redeem themselves or their family is to, serve as, these gods' knights. So there's a lot going on, and I'm very, very curious where Oda is going with this. He just keeps building up and piling up these promises and other things that, we are just excited as readers to find out. Now, we finish off this interaction with the Revolutionary Army with, them showing Sabo the newspaper and be like, did this really happen? And before that part, Sabo was like, while it's unfortunate that Cobra died, honestly, I gotta keep it a stack with you. I'm okay with it. Like, yeah, it sucks, but if this is what was necessary to spur people into action, then it is what it is. And I think Ivankov basically says something to like the line of, damn, that's cold, but like, I think they all kind of feel him. They don't, like, he obviously doesn't wish for this to have happened to Cobra, but it did, but it was, risk reward type stuff. So yeah, he sees the newspaper and he's standing on top of Cobra. Obviously, it reminds me of every like TV show, movie I've seen where you stumble upon the dead body and then all of a sudden the police show up and you're just there standing over the dead body. That's what it looks like here. He's clearly on like the Dendemushi, clearly probably trying to convey to somebody in the Revolutionary Army, yo, I just found Cobra and he's dead. Which, by the way, that confuses me, because if he's actively on a Dendemushi talking to someone, who is he talking to? Because all the Revolutionary Army was like, oh my god, did Sabo kill Cobra? So like, who was he talking to? Maybe it was Shirahoshi, because we see her holding like a Dendemushi, so maybe it was her. But like, if it's not her, I'm really confused why everyone thought that there was a possibility that Sabo killed her, right? And so anyway, we get the flashback to, a month later, and we see, Sabo running around. He's destroyed the granary and stuff. We see a bunch of the Celestials. We see that one I talked to you about who was like trying to ride this pirate to save him. The pirate is clearly old, withered, cannot take it, and is about to like go down. And she's like, all right, I'll walk myself, consider yourself fired, and goes to blast that dude. And a crow appears and takes the gun and then brings it over to Karasu. And we finally find out what Karasu's Delphoot ability is. I always thought that it was something, like a mythical Zoan, maybe something Nordic, kind of like, Shanks is, right? Odin I feel like would be too strong, but Odin does have that kind of like raven crow motif. But no, it's the soot fruit. So that is really interesting. I think it's clearly a Logia, but that was really, really cool to find that out. So we finally had that mystery solved. We also see Limburg flying around. He's got a laser gun and just blasting the chains of the slaves and releasing them. And so, the slaves are set to be free, which once again, I think is going to have devastating ramifications for the Celestial Dragons. They're not used to doing shit. Not like so much so that like they have a moving like escalator thing, elevator. Whatever that, those moving walking platforms are, and those are completely controlled by slaves. So for all this manpower to all of a sudden be gone while they're also not having food, I cannot wait till Oda shows us like present day how much they've been suffering. It is going to be insane, and I am totally here for it. Then we go and we see Morley, and is it also Karasu? Does he link up with him? I think Morley and Karasu both end up fighting. Let me double check. No, I think it's just Morley. Maybe it's more of them. But Morley is fighting Green Bull and I believe Fujitora, but I don't think Fujitora is like really in the fight. And we have the CP0 just kind of casually watching and observing what's going down and what's happening. And with that whole situation, I think it is awesome that Morley is able to like go toe to toe with the Admirals. Now, to be fair, the Admirals are severely handicapped. Unfortunately, and I don't know whose friggin' idea this was, they have two of the most like AoE intensive Admirals there. Well, I guess all of the Admirals to a certain extent are like very AoE intensive. The only one I think would be a better match right now would be Kizaru, because he could like kind of narrow his attacks. But like Morley is fighting Green Bull straight up, and Green Bull seems to be really frustrated because like I believe Green Bull would be able to easily take Morley, but he has to like be very considerate of all the Celestials running around. The Celestials are literally yelling at him like, you're just as bad as Morley, and if any single one of us get damaged because of you, you're going to be hanged. So he's like, shoot, like what am I supposed to do here? Like go get the out, like please scram. And then this part had me absolutely weeping. You see Fujitora, and I don't know who's talking to him, but they're like, Fujitora, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm calling down a meteor. And I'm like, hey yo, Fujitora is not an idiot, okay? Fujitora is not stupid. We are in the middle of a massive, like, I don't know what to call it. Let's say stampede, because I don't have, a good vocabulary right now. There are countless, not innocents, but like, Celestials around, pirates around, slaves around, and you are calling in a huge ass meteor that's going to do a meteor strike that is going to do AoE damage. What is wrong with you? And part of me thinks he is trolling. Part of me really thinks he's trolling just so he can tell like the higher ups that, hey man, I was trying to fight, but they told me not to. And like, because he could definitely fight without bringing out a meteor. His gravity powers aren't that bad, and they can be like specified to a specific area or person. So I think he was either doing that, one, to have an excuse to not fight, or two, maybe he was down for the collateral damage. Maybe he was down to accidentally collaterally kill some celestial dragons, if you know what I mean. So that part really blew me away and floored me. Throughout this chapter, we see some other figures. We see Kuma being ridden by some celestial dragons. It's the same Mulesguard, I think, or Roseguard. Rosegold or whatever, Roseguard, and his father, and they're still after why can't I remember her name? Neptune's daughter. Shirahoshi, there we go. They're still after Shirahoshi. We see Vivi and the CP0 guarding her, and she's not trying to have it. I think she definitely knows that, the Straw Hats don't fuck with the CP9, CP0 because of, the whole Water 7 incident. And so she's probably blatantly aware of that. She's like, I would be more comfortable with Garp being here, so that's kind of cool. And also I love how she throws shade at them because they're like, we'll protect you, and she's like, protect me like you protected Shirahoshi. So that was hilarious to me as well. We even see Jori Bani here trying to save her father, which sucks because she must have barely missed him. And also it makes me wish I paid more attention to One Piece geography, because I want to know how she ended up going from here to wherever she was. But then again, it's been a month, so I guess she did have a lot of time. Anyway, this chapter ends on somewhat of a big cliffhanger, and it's the last moments of Cobra alive. He has a meeting with the Gorosei. Literally, no one can usually meet the Gorosei, so I'm really wondering how he got this meeting, why they allowed it, etc., what they wanted to talk about. The guards basically informed Cobra, hey, only you're allowed to talk to Gorosei, your guards are not. So he tells Pell and what's his name, Chaka or Shaka, I forget their, sorry, fake One Piece fan here, psych. Stay behind, it's cool. Go watch Vivi, she's the one that gets into trouble anyway, but famous last words is he was the one that could have really needed the help. And yeah, the chapter ends there. We don't get to see the meeting between Cobra and the Gorosei. We don't get to see if Cobra got to bear witness to Emu, if Sabo got to bear witness to Emu, how Sabo ran into a dead cobra, or any of that. But honestly, hype chapter, full of like, I don't want to say exposition, more like pre-exposition, and you guys know how I love exposition, so I really feel like next chapter is either going to be one of two things. It's either going to be a huge reveal of the most important things that happened at MARIEJOIS and, you know, what Sabo found out, or Oda is going to yank our chain and take us back to Egghead, because, you know, things were finally hyping up and getting crazy on Egghead, and then we're like, whoop, and then we find out about, you know, the other Yonko, find out about, you know, Garp, find out about like everyone else, and now things are finally hyped with this, you know, with the Yonko, with, you know, finding out what happened at the Reverie, and it was gonna go whoop, and now we're back to Egghead. He's gonna like like Rickroll us a bit. So regardless, I'm excited either way it goes, but oh, I hate when he does this to me. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning into Otaku Talk. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys like this video and this review. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. This has been Otaku Talk. I'm your boy, your host, OD, and have a great weekend. Let me know in the comments if there's anything I missed, if there's anything you want to talk about. What do you think the God Knights are? How strong do you put them on a power scaling perspective? Do you think that they are the red-haired pirates? Do you think that Shanks is a God's Knight? Do you think that Shanks has any relation to the God's Knights? Do you think it's a coincidence? How long do you think, you know, MARIEJOIS is going to last without their food supplies and stuff going on like that? How long do you think the Revolutionary Army takes the fight to them? And what do you think Emu is going to do about all this? And just, let me know, just in general, what you think we're in store for with One Piece. Anyway, take care. Peace.